Coming up on 5 Minute News. Far-right populist wins Argentina's presidency. Report says wealthiest 1% emit more carbon than poorest 66%. And Houthi rebels hijack Israeli ship and take 25 crew hostage. It's Monday, November 20. I'm Anthony Davis. Far-right populist Javier Milei won Argentina's presidential election on Sunday, swinging the country to the right following a fiercely polarized campaign in which he promised a dramatic shake-up to the state to deal with soaring inflation and rising poverty. With 97.6% of votes tallied in Sunday's presidential runoff vote, Milei had 55.8% and Economy Minister Sergio Massa 44.2%, according to Argentina's electoral authority. Presuming that margin holds, it would be the widest since Argentina's return of democracy in 1983. In the streets of Buenos Aires, drivers honked their horns, and many took to the streets to celebrate in several neighborhoods. Outside Milei's party headquarters, a hotel in downtown Buenos Aires, supporters were euphoric. In his victory speech, the self-described capitalist who has been compared to former US President Donald Trump said the reconstruction of Argentina begins today. Massa of the ruling Peronist party had already conceded defeat, saying Argentines chose another path. With a Milei victory, the country will shift rightward, and a freshman lawmaker who got his start as a television talking head, blasting what he called the political caste, will assume the presidency. Inflation has soared above 140% and poverty has worsened while Massa has held his post. Milei has proposed to slash the size of the state and rein in inflation, but like Trump, has no track record or experience in the workings of government. The richest 1% of the population are responsible for more carbon emissions than the poorest 66%, with dire consequences for vulnerable communities and global efforts to tackle the climate emergency. The most comprehensive study of global climate inequality ever undertaken shows that this elite group, made up of 77 million people including billionaires, millionaires, and those paid more than $140,000 a year, accounted for 16% of all CO2 emissions in 2019, enough to cause more than 1 million excess deaths due to heat, according to the report. The report shows that while the wealthiest 1% tend to live climate-insulated, air-conditioned lives, their emissions are responsible for immense suffering. Over the period from 1990 to 2019, the accumulated emissions of the 1% were equivalent to wiping out last year's harvests of EU corn, US wheat, Bangladeshi rice, and Chinese soya beans. The suffering falls disproportionately upon people living in poverty, marginalized ethnic communities, migrants and women and girls who live and work outside or in homes vulnerable to extreme weather. These groups are less likely to have savings, insurance or social protection, which leaves them more economically as well as physically at risk from floods, drought, heat waves and forest fires. The UN says developing countries account for 91% of deaths related to extreme weather. The report finds that it would take about 1,500 years for someone in the bottom 99% to produce as much carbon as the richest billionaires do in a year. Yemen's Houthi rebels seized an Israeli-linked cargo ship in a crucial Red Sea shipping route and took its 25 crew members hostage, raising fears that regional tensions heightened over the Israel-Hamas war were playing out on a new maritime front. The Iran-backed Houthi rebels said they hijacked the ship over its connection to Israel and would continue to target ships in international waters that were linked to or owned by Israelis until the end of Israel's campaign against Gaza's Hamas rulers. All ships belonging to the Israeli enemy or that deal with it will become legitimate targets, the Houthis said. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office had blamed the Houthis for the attack on the Bahamas-flagged Galaxy Leader, a vehicle carrier affiliated with an Israeli billionaire. It said the 25 crew members had a range of nationalities, including Bulgarian, Filipino, Mexican and Ukrainian, but that no Israelis had been on board. The Houthis said they were treating the crew members in accordance with their Islamic values, but did not elaborate on what that meant. The Israeli military called the hijacking a very grave incident of global consequence. Israeli officials insisted the ship was British-owned and Japanese-operated. However, ownership details in public shipping databases associated the ship's owners with Ray Car Carriers, which was founded by Abraham Rami Ungar, who is known as one of the richest men in Israel. International shipping often involves a series of management companies, flags and owners stretching across the globe in a single vessel. 5 Minute News is an Evergreen podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. The holidays are right around the corner, and HelloFresh can take the stress out of dinner by delivering everything you need to cook up tasty meals right to your door, saving you tons of time. Just like always, HelloFresh's ingredients travel from the farm to your front door, so you know they're fresh, and everything arrives pre-portioned so you can get right to cooking quick. HelloFresh makes cooking so easy and fast, I've personally been inspired to do more home cooking because of it. Go to hellofresh.com/5minutefree and use code 5minutefree for free breakfast for life. One breakfast item per box while subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at hellofresh.com/5minutefree with code 5minutefree. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.